Welcome to another exciting episode of the Business of Digital podcast, featuring your hosts, Matt Siltala and Dave Rohr. Hey everybody, Matt Siltala here alongside Dave Rohr, another Business of Digital podcast coming at you. Towards the end of the year, we like to, or at least we've thought about, because we haven't done this before, being 2017 is our first year of podcasting, but we wanted to talk about some of the best books that we've read in 2017. And so that's really what we're going to talk about today. And so let's say hi to Dave. How's it going, Dave?
Hola, senor.
All right. So we each have several books, or actually I have a couple that I'm going to talk about and you have several. But there was a lot of really good books that came out in 2017. And, we thought that it would be a good opportunity for those that love to read, take advantage of just some of the books that have helped us this year. And so one of the first ones that I want to jump into, and then I'll kind of pass it over to you, but and I feel bad, but kind of not feel bad because I stole this one from you too, because it was on your list. But recently, like a month or two ago, we had Allison Stratton on the show from Unmarketing, and her and Scott, her husband Scott, have a brand new book called Unbranding. And Dave and I were lucky enough that they sent us an autographed copy. But I love this book because it's 100 branding lessons. And they dive in and they talk about just 100 different lessons for us. Again, just every day. And they go from like really big examples to the smaller kind of mom and pop examples of just real marketing. Okay. Just like strip away all the fluff and everything and just, hey, these are just some awesome things that brands have done. And so again, I would highly recommend going and checking out Unbranding. It's by Scott Stratton and Allison Stratton. And there's one in particular that I love. And I don't know if you guys remember hearing about this one, but there was this guy in his, I can't remember his name or anything, but basically I think his name was Hunter. But this is one of their lessons in their book. And so if you get the book, it's lesson number 92. But he had a Kit Kat stolen from him. And what was funny about it is the person left a note and said something to the effect of, I saw this Kit Kat in your cup holder and I checked your door. It was unlocked. I didn't take anything other than the Kit Kat. I'm sorry, I was hungry. And so I don't know if you remember hearing about this one. Do you, Dave?
I don't. No, I don't.
So nothing was taken and no damage was done. But he tweeted the photo and a note. And of course, it went viral. And this is where the branding opportunities come in. And so think about it yourself. Think about if anyone ever tweets you that something's done with your brand or something's stolen and you have an opportunity to maybe, take advantage of it. This is what Kit Kat did. So they jumped in and they sent him 6,500 Kit Kats.
Holy cow.
Anyway, it was just a fun, and there was pictures of all these Kit Kats that were stuffed in his car. And it was pretty amazing, just that opportunity that, you and I talk about this kind of stuff all the time, Dave, just taking advantage of that opportunity, seeing someone's tweet, seeing someone's message that they posted somewhere, even a review, whatever it might be, but basically just taking advantage of that and then seeing how you can I don't know whether, newsjack, piggyback, take advantage of just basically, it can be a good thing for your branding. And so that's one of the reasons I'd recommend Unbranding, because there's 100 different lessons like that, and highly recommend it. And, that's one of the first ones that I would recommend. So now to you.
Nice. I had the goal. I didn't quite meet it this year. I traveled a little bit too much for a while. That's my excuse. It's not really a good one. But my goal was to try to read, knowing that everything, tried to read a book a month. I think I hit 7. And I'm almost done with Unbranding right now. I'm only on lesson 60-something. So I'm
Okay.
not quite done. I'm 3/4 of the way there almost. So I think I had, yeah, that'll be my seventh or eighth book. One I started to read and got halfway through and was not good, but no, not good at all. One of the ones that I honestly skimmed this one. It's Project Management for the Unofficial Project Manager. It's by Corey Kogan. In what it was interesting for me because having worked at an agency and never realized that I needed or liked project managers. I worked with Samantha years ago, but she was more of a traffic cop for me because I was a developer and I was all over the place. And I never really realized internally when she was a project manager how much it helped until I started working with clients and started getting 80 things thrown at me from 8 different clients and being put on all these different clients and having them in a call say, well, that's out of scope. We have to do this, this, and this. And I was like, well, that's really handy. And then we'd get notes and it would all be like, here, Dave, here's the next 3 things you have to work on for next week. And, it was like my teacher telling me what my homework was and, packing it all up for me and making it really simple.
Right.
And being on my own now, I don't have that. And some days I'm organized and other days I'm completely not. So when it comes to some projects that get a little bit bigger, I wanted to have a better understanding of how a project manager approaches it from the start rather than trying to manage it after the train's already left the station. And I read most of it, but I skimmed some of it. And just like the risk matrix, some of the due diligence that a project manager does prior has made me start to think about some of the questions I ask my clients a little bit more and spend more time thinking through my onboarding docs, my initial questionnaires, my initial kind of questioning when I work with people to get a better understanding of what they've been doing, what's not been working, what's been working. And I ask a lot of those questions in most, consultants for whatever type of consultant does. I just had someone here inspecting something on my one of the appliances the other day, and they're asking, how many people use it, how often, like they have a set of questions. And I was just kind of trying to understand how I can improve my questions and just how I work with people. So it makes it better for me, but also my clients.
I like that.
Hopefully I've gotten better.
Well, it's something that we're always going to be working on getting better. And it's kind of a perfect segue into the next book that I wanted to talk about. Just making sure, are you done talking about that one?
Yeah, I'm done. I'm done rambling.
All right. So the next one that I would recommend, and again, I just kind of have to do a little bit of a preface here, but it's not really an SEO or marketing or digital type book, so to speak. But it's one that is absolutely perfect for entrepreneurs or people that or independent workers or people that need to do a better job with time and efficiency and, figuring out what opportunities are for them, what opportunities they should pass on, things like that. This book is called The Efficiency Playbook, and it's your tactical game plan for getting more for less, or your tactical game plan to getting more for less, sorry. And it's written by a friend of mine, Michael Andrew. And Michael Andrew, he's a mentor of mine, and he's the one that, if people follow me in other realms, they know that I love photography, and I've been able to put a few good shots out there. And I learned everything I know from photography, or at least getting into it, from this guy right here. Now, there's lots of people that have taught me stuff over the years, but if there's one person I'd have to say is my mentor, it would be this guy right here, Michael Andrew. But besides photography, he also, he played football. He played on bowl teams for BYU, and anyway, he's a really good dude. And right now, he's been in Puerto Rico for since October, since the tsunami or the hurricane hit, And so he's been over there, and he's like one of the leaders for Salvation Army. He just donates his time, and he goes and just stops everything and goes and just gives his time when there's a need. And so if there's anyone that probably you can learn from for how to get the most out of your time, you know, earn more money, just some of the things that this book will do. Earn more money systematically for less time, effort, and expense. How to measure new career opportunities and which ones to reject. How to measure and expand thought size, which determine wealth, careers, compatibility with others. I love this one. Why freedom, not money, is the ultimate wealth. And this is perfect because I talked to you about what he's doing in Puerto Rico right now. If he was worried about money, he wouldn't have that freedom to go and do this. And so, he's always done it where freedom is the most important thing to him, and that's the ultimate wealth, not money. And so it teaches you how you can get to that point, and that's one of the things that I love about this book. And then there's lots of different things about how it helps you optimize your day, plan your days for maximum efficiency. Why multitask? This is another good one that you should pay attention to when you get this book. Why multitasking is a myth and should be avoided. I love that one, and I was always like, oh, I'm a great multitasker and I need to do it. And then I read this book and I realized how bad of a person I was, so to speak. But again, highly recommended from me. It's called The Efficiency Playbook, and it's from Michael Andrew. And I believe all of these we could get on Amazon. We probably will drop some links for you on the website. But again, that's one that I would highly recommend. I recommend this one so much that I bought like 30 copies from him when it first came out, just to put in my in our office in Utah, and give to every employee, and also have extra copies and stuff for anyone that's just around that wants to pick up a good book and read it. And so highly recommended. So
who doesn't want to do better at their career and work less and make more?
Yeah, exactly. And this is a great book to show you how to. All right. You got another one for us?
I do. You just changed tone. I don't know if you moved away from the microphone, sir.
I did, just for a second. I'm grabbing a book while you're talking.
I'm trying to look at the two. Oh, The Power of Habit. I was just looking to see where that book is. I think it's somewhere else. It's not in my office. The Power of Habit was actually an interesting book. For me, it was about trying to understand how a little bit in conversion rate, but also for me, like how to break my own bad habits and how to make good habits. From the fact that, I always say I'm going to start exercising and I don't. And I want to do that. So I'm like, what can I do? Or what other habits? Like I close my email is a habit of mine. Because I used to, if it's open, and I know a lot of people do this, they'll constantly check Twitter if it's open, or Facebook, or For me, it's my email. I do not keep Twitter open. I do not keep Facebook open. I do not keep my mail open, because I know I have the habit of, oh, look, notification, ding, got to go look at it. And I'll stop doing what I'm doing and break that line of that train of thought, and I'll go and do it. The Power of Habit talks about there are a bunch of different examples, but it talks about how a bunch of scientists, a bunch of people have tried to break down like Alcoholics Anonymous and realize that it's actually a really good blueprint for people because it replaces one habit with another. And as I read the book, I started thinking about lots of people that I've known over the years that give up drugs and alcohol or something like that, and will replace it with religion. They'll replace it with food. A lot of people that quit smoking replace it with gum or food. And I've noticed that when I if I play a little online game, or if I do something, or if I check email, I almost have to replace it with another habit. And the book really kind of digs into the fact that there's a lot of things that us as humans, like, have you ever noticed that when you're driving somewhere and you're supposed to go somewhere different? So like I always take the little guy to the daycare, but in the morning when we have to go somewhere else, I've actually caught myself going to daycare without even thinking about it, and then realizing
You're on
halfway there,
autopilot.
yeah, in our brain, so much of what we do, like how many times did you just think about the fact that your muscles have to do something so that you sit, or, I'm at my standing desk, my legs are just automatically doing things. I'm breathing, you're breathing.
Or how many times have you driven to daycare and you got there and you're like, wow, I don't remember that drive.
Yeah, because it's your brain is, so many habits are created, and your brain just creates this, and it like saves it as this process, and then your brain in the background just kind of hits it, and it digs into some of the, not a lot of biology and stuff like that about it, but it does dig in a little bit about how if you have a habit and you want to break it, you need to understand why it is. And it kind of talks about how this guy was like, always getting up at 3 o'clock and going to the vending machine, and was like, I'm buying candy and junk food and all this stuff, and I want to lose some weight. What do I do? And it kind of breaks down the process of, what is this habit you want to break? When does it happen? What causes it? When? Why? And you start to kind of analyze and figure out what is the root cause of it. And started to figure out that he doesn't get up for the food. He gets up to get out of his desk, to walk around and talk to people. So he started to figure out, if I eat a healthy snack at 2 o'clock, and then do I still have that craving at 3? Yes. Okay. What about if I eat it at 2:30? Yes. Okay. Well, it's not the fact that I'm hungry. What else can I do? What if I get up and go get water and go find someone and talk to them, and then, sit down, and would basically set an alarm for 5 minutes before that 3 o'clock, and would get up and get water and go talk to someone. And after 2 or 3 weeks, and I've always heard that if you want to go to the gym and make it a habit, you need 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
This book kind of talks about, it's that 2 to 3 weeks. If you can do something consistently for 2 to 3 weeks every day, he's like, soon you won't need that alarm. And suddenly that old habit becomes the new habit. But we've kind of talked about, what day would we want to publish this podcast, or what day would we want to do a newsletter? A lot of people talk about what the best time to publish something is, whether it's, on Twitter or Facebook. Whatever you do, if you always send out your email, like I get certain emails every Monday morning are sitting there waiting for me. It's a habit that I know it's going to be there. What happens when it's not?
Yeah.
You've now broken the habit of me, the follower or the shopper, that changes. Now maybe next week it's there again, okay, but then the next week it's not, and then the next week it's not. Well, now you've broken that habit, and maybe I stopped looking for it because 2 out of the last 3 times I've looked for it, and your email or your messaging hasn't been there. So now I'm going to stop looking for it because you're wasting my time, and now you've broken a habit.
That's a great point. Great point.
So whether it's personal or business, it was interesting how they kind of dug into creating habits, breaking habits, whether you're a marketer or just trying to improve yourself. And for me, it was kind of interesting. And I've started to try to implement some of it. I have some improvement, but I'm trying to.
Awesome.
Trying.
All right. Well, we probably have time for one more book. If you have one more book, Dave.
I have another one. It's also an interesting kind of book. It's called Biology.
Okay.
As in bi-ology by Martin Lindstrom. This one actually I have in front of me. Originally, this is an older book, and I know I posted it on Instagram or Twitter earlier, or Facebook earlier when I read it earlier this year, and a whole bunch of people are like, "Oh, that was a good one." Same with the Habit one. So I'm not the only person reading these, good or bad. But this is like from 2008, and it actually talks about the digging into the data And most people have probably heard the story about like Target, how Target can tell based on certain products you buy, some correlation if you're pregnant before you even know it.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I've
Um,
read that
but
article too. It's nuts.
yeah, I've read some stuff, and this is biology with truth and the lies about why we buy. According to Time, it was a fascinating look at how consumers perceive logos, ads, commercial brands, and products. And one of the examples they talked about was in the UK, and this is some years ago, they were going to change the laws around what cigarette companies could advertise. And this one company knew that it was coming up. So what they did is they changed their marketing to always be purple. And it was like this really bright, strong purple color. And every ad, like every billboard, every magazine ad, everything they did, it was focused around purple. And over time, they kept shrinking what the purple was, like everything else, but they made the purple stand out to the point where if you were to ask someone what that color was, they just associated it with that brand.
Wow.
And it was interesting for me reading biology and the other book, the Power of Habit. The two of them kind of go together. You can create habits by, I don't want to say manipulating, but by, targeting people in certain ways. And what is it? I think the credit card companies know 2 years before you do, you're going to get a divorce based on the change in spending habits of a household. And that's just because we buy stuff. How many companies, especially fast food places, don't do it a ton, but they start to get that data when you order all the time, like pizza places. How many times do you call up for a pizza place and they're like, you tell them your address and they look at your phone number and they're like, oh, do you want that same order as last time? Yes. Okay.
Yep.
Like if you're a place like that and you have that kind of customer data and you see that every month, and that's why Amazon and some of those places are like, a lot of pet stores are doing it now. Wine places, it's like, oh, you go through 3 bottles of wine a month, or you go through 3 things of cat food a month. Why don't we just auto ship that to you? We know you've been buying it for the last 2 years. Why don't we just auto ship it to you and we'll give you 10% off?
That's brilliant. I like it.
But this book also kind of digs into the why people do stuff and how to, I don't want to say trigger, but kind of along those same lines of why we buy stuff. And there was just some crazy detail into the cigarette packs was like a huge chapter in this, where they talk about that those huge gross warnings, the grosser the warnings are on cigarette packs, the more it actually stimulates a smoker to want to.
Are you serious? That's insane.
Yep.
I don't get that.
Telling them and showing them that you're going to have a gross, horrible death, people know it and they understand that this is a bad thing, but they did like a bunch of like MRI scans and they did some other scans and they had people fill stuff out. When people fill out those surveys, they tell you exactly what you want to hear and what they should be telling people. But their brain, the way it's being triggered, just like when we were in Vegas recently, what do you hear when you walk around Vegas? Ding, 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 winner, winner, winner type noises. That is that instant gratification kind of trigger in your brain to go, oh, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And it's that little hit of adrenaline, and I forget what the medical, there's some other stuff to it, but it makes you happy and you want that happiness. What's that?
I was just thinking of you said.
Yeah, it's slipping my brain right now. But yes, I think it's endorphins. But it gives you that little hit of happiness and you want it. So you keep smoking, you keep playing the video game, you keep doing whatever it is that you're doing, whatever that habit is. So it was interesting.
Very cool. That's one I'm adding to my list for sure. So You know what I'd like to, and just wrapping this up, anyone that's listening to this, if you read a good book in 2017 that we didn't talk about, leave it in the comments. Let us know. Let everybody know. Everyone that listens to this podcast, the more that,
Or tweet at
yeah,
us.
tweet at us, whatever. The more books that we could get on the list, the better, in my opinion. So, all right.
And I need some
Well,
ideas. I need some ideas for
yes,
next year.
yes, we need 2018 ideas. I would love ideas from, you know, because I run a small agency. We have between 30 and 40 people, and I would love any books that would be good for a team like that as well. And all right, well, thank you, sir, for sharing those, and thank you for everyone listening. For Dave Rohr, I'm Matt Siltla, and we will catch you on the next podcast. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thanks.